All right, so today we're going to look at some examples from section 2.4. It covers a couple of different pages of work. So if you turn to page 61, we're going to look at problem number 18 right now. And problem number 18, they give you this equation right here, and they ask you to sketch the graph of this equation. There's a lot of ways to do this, but the main way that you want to do this is you need to find 3 points on this graph. You're going to make a table and find me 3 points. The technique I would use if I was you is simply this. You want to pick 0, and then you want to pick a number bigger than 0 and a number less than 0. So you want a positive number and a negative number. You want to get in the habit of doing graphs like that if possible. You always want to pick 0 because that is the y-intercept. And then you want to pick some other number. Pick it smartly. In other words, I can pick 1. 1 is bigger than 0. I can plug in a 1, but that's going to give me a fraction here. So if I recognize that this number right here next to the x, which is going to get multiplied, is a fraction, any number that 8 does not divide into will give me a fractional answer. And since I can graph using any points I want, let's pick numbers that make it easy to graph. I don't want to deal with fractions. So the number I'm going to pick over here that I'm going to plug in for an x is going to be a number that 8 will divide into, which means the number I'm going to pick is 8. And likewise on the back side of this, on the negative side, what number does 8 go into that's negative? Well, I'm going to pick negative 8. Once I've done that, then the plugging in values is very simple to do. It doesn't take very much. I'm going to walk you through this process, though, for those who need it. So when I plug a number in, you simply write the original equation out. You put a parenthesis for the variable before you do anything else, and then you go back and plug in your number inside those parentheses. You should write it this way. People who don't write it this way have a tendency to make sign errors and get the problems wrong. So here we picked the 8 on purpose because 8 divided by 8 is, in this case, this is a negative 8, will be negative 1. And so then this produces the number negative 3 plus 5. And a negative 3 plus 5 is 2. If I plug in 0, same process. That whole quantity becomes 0, and I get just 5. We also know that because this number, this equation is written in slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form, if you did not recognize it, this is where it's in the form y equals mx plus b. This is one of the forms I gave you. And I can look right here, that number on the end, if it's in this format, that is the y-intercept. So I already knew it was going to be a 5, which is one of the reasons why we always pick 0, because it's a y-intercept. Plug in for the 8, 3 over 8 plus 5. This drops and becomes a 1, and we get 3 plus 5, and so this number will be an 8. Once I have the table, it's just a matter for you to draw this picture. Do it on graph paper. It's always nicer. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is all I'm going to really have time to do here. And we got to go at 8, 6, 7, 8. So negative 8, positive 2, 0, 5, 5, 8, 8, and they should all line up nice and perfect. So you just draw your line through all those dots. Of course, I missed them, but that's okay. You'll use a ruler and a graph paper. It'll look nicer, and there you go. Label the center point, 0, 5, and one other point on here. It does not matter which other point you label, but you should always label at least 2 points on your graph. And don't forget to number your axes, which I'm not doing for sake of time. That's how you would graph that. Next problem you guys wanted to see was number 25 on the same page. On 25 on the same page, they gave you a picture. I'll just show you the picture. Here's our picture right here. I'll zoom in so we can see it closer. And they want us to write an equation in slope-intercept form. Well, the slope-intercept form comes later. There's one way to write the equation of a line, okay? And we're going to talk about that right now. To write the equation of a line, you need a point and you need a slope. This is what you need to remember. You need a point, you need a slope, and you use the point-slope formula. The point-slope formula is this one right here. Its sole purpose in existence is to write the equation of a line. You need a slope and you need a point. From our picture, we need to gather this information. On this picture, we look around and see if there's a spot where we can pull out a point. They were nice enough to give us that one right there. That point right there is on the y-axis, so this is the y-intercept. It is at 1, 2, 3, so my point is at 0, 3. So now I need a slope. To find a slope from a graph or anything else, you need 2 points. You need 2 points. We have the one, and we look for another place where I might be able to find a point. I can't tell you where this point is because it's in between. I don't really know. But if I look closely at it, it looks like it goes to that spot right there. So I can use that one. It might also look like it goes through that point right there, so I can probably use that one. So if that's the case, and this point is on there, then I can just go from my picture, and I can look at the change in the y over the change in x, because that's what this is. It's the change in the y's over the change in the x's. Rise over run. The slope is going this way, so it's positive. I know that already. And I have to go from here to here, up 2 and over 1. Up 2 and over 1. The change in the y's is 2, and this is 1. So my slope is going to be a 2. That's how you go about finding those informations from a graph. Once I have that information, then I can come over here, and I can plug that numbers into my equation over here and get my, oops, that should be minus, y minus the y1, which is 3. My slope is 2. X minus x1, which is 0. X minus 0 is just x, so I now have y minus 3 equals 2x. And then I can move this to the other side by adding 3. And I get y equals 2x plus 3. And that is the slope-intercept form that they wanted your answer in. You also wanted number 31 on this page. 31 is just another look for writing the equation of a line. This time they just gave you 2 points. And you need to write the equation of a line. It should be an automatic mantra for you. How do I write the equation of a line? I need a point and I need a slope. That's what I need. So I have 2 points, so you can just pick any one that you want. So really this problem boils down to is I need to find the slope. There's a couple of ways to do it. Since they gave me points, you might want to just put them into a table real quick. -2, -6, 1, and 2, and then find the change in the y's over the change in the x's. To me, this is the simplest way to do it. From -6 to 2 is a plus 8. Be careful. And from here to here, from -2 to 1, I'm going plus 3. So my rate of change is 8 over 3. And there's my slope. So, to me, that's the easiest. Here's my point-slope formula. You should write it down every time you use it. Helps you remember it. And then you pick a point. You can pick the one with the 2 negatives in it, or you can pick the one with the 2 positives in it. I recommend that one. Y minus 2. The slope is 8/3. X minus 1. So unless they ask you for a specific way to write the equation, Like in this one, they asked us to put it in the slope-intercept form, which means we need to put it in that form. This one, the directions did not tell us to do that. It simply says, write the equation of a line that passes through those given points. You just did. You can stop there. If they ask you to put it in slope-intercept form, you would have to solve for y. If they ask you to put it in standard or general form, you would have to do something else. If they just ask you to write the equation of a line, you just did. That's it. Circle it. You're done. You don't need to distribute it or move things around. You can just stop. And that's what I would recommend that you do. Okay? Now, let's go to page 67. On page 67, you asked to see number 19. Number 19 on page 67. This one, they gave you a point, 3.5, 7.5, and they gave you the slope of 1.5. And they asked you to write the equation of a line that has that information. Well, to write the equation of a line, I need what? A point and a slope. There you go. That's simple. You're already done. M times x minus x1. There's my point. There's my slope. Just plug it all in there. 1.5, x minus 3.5. Close off. You're done. It didn't ask for any particular way. I think it asked you to write it in point slope form, which is that right there, and you're done. It's that simple. Page 73. You first asked to see number 18. Number 18 gives you this equation right here, 2x minus y equals 8. And it asks you to identify the x and y intercepts of this graph. Well, that means they want you to find 2 points on the graph. That means I'm going to find 2 points. The y-intercept, for the y-intercept, it has a number for the y, but 0 for the x. The x-intercept has a number for the x and a 0 for the y. So literally what they want you to do is, for this one, plug 0 in for x. So then you would take 2 times 0 minus y equals 8. 2 times 0 is 0, so I have a negative y equals 8, which simply means the negative of what number is a positive 8. For those who know some techniques and stuff, you can simply do divide by negative 1. 8 divided by negative 1 is negative 8. That is your y-intercept. To find the x-intercept, do the same thing, just plug in 0 for y. 2 times x minus 0 equals 8. So 2 times x equals 8. So what number times 2 is 8? You can divide both sides by 2 and you get 4. And that is your y, your x-intercept. So the y-intercept is the point 0, negative 8. The x-intercept is the point 4, 0. 73. Number 18. You also wanted to see number 19. In number 19, they wanted you to sketch the graph. I think by now you probably can see how that's going to happen. If I'm giving it to you in this format right here, depending on what it is, I can pick any numbers I want. I can pick all numbers in for x, but it's in general form. Just like this one was. Where x and y are on the same side equals to a number, this is your standard or general form. So if I want to graph this line, I need 3 points. I need 3 points, 2 of them to graph it and the third to check. I can do the standard thing I did before, but it's not, I don't know if I'm going to get fractions or not. So in this one, you can just pick any numbers you want over here, put 0 here and put a number above it, put a number below it, and just work it out, see what you get. That is fine. But because we also, in this format, are always asked what the intercepts are, why don't you make 2 of the points the x and y intercept? And then just pick another number anywhere. So if I do that, then I'll have the 2 intercepts, and then I can just pick a third number. You can plug in for x, or you can plug in for y, it doesn't matter. Just do a random one over here. Let's just put 6, see what happens. If I plug in 0 for x, then I'll get negative 4y equals 8. Divide both sides by negative 4, and I get y equals negative 2. Make the y 0. And again, I get 2x equals 8, so x equals 4. Now, I just pick this number at random. Don't know what's going to happen, so probably we'll get a fraction. Just go with it. 2 times 6 minus 4 times y equals 8. That's 12. Move the 12. Negative 4y equals, oh, I got lucky. Negative 4. Oh, you couldn't see that, sorry. So if I subtract the 12 from here and from here, I get that. So I got really lucky on this one. Don't know how that happened. It was totally out of the blue. And I get a 1. And I've already showed you how to graph the dots, so I'm not going to graph this one itself, but that's how the table is made. And you just do your x and y axis, scale it and all that kind of stuff, and put your dots and draw your line and label. So that's number 19. You wanted to do one more, number 32, which I'm going to squeeze right in here. Number 32 says to sketch the graph of each equation. This is number 32, and they gave you negative 9x equals negative 27. And hopefully when you see this right off the bat, you should notice that there is only one letter. There is no y in this equation. Since there is no y, it has to be, and since there's only one letter, it has to be one of the special lines. There's only 2 lines that have only one letter in their equation. The horizontal line, this is the line that goes to the y-axis. That means it has a y equals. And the one that has an x equals, which is vertical, since this has an x, this will be a vertical line. And you need to recognize that when it occurs. Put it in x equals forms, which means I need to divide both sides by negative 9. X equals positive 3. This is a vertical line at 3. Real quick sketching. Here's 3. It is a line right through 3. Arrow, arrow, label. 3, 0. Name, x equals 3. Pick another dot somewhere, and that would be 3, 2. Vertical line. This is how you would draw and graph a vertical line. So those are the examples you wanted to see. We'll do some more examples together, but you can reference this for future assistance.